Alright, you guys, we are back with another one, and I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be a fun, exciting video today. So, I already have the engine hoist out, so we're pulling the Eg33 back out of the STi today, and we're gonna get it permanently mounted in the car. So there's a couple things that we need to do while we have the engine out. A, we're gonna replace all of the grommets on the valve covers today while the motor's out. B, we're gonna get the clutch and flywheel installed, and I'll show you guys what I'm using in this car. I have to pull out like that battery. We need to tap the, we need to put a helicoil in the transmission for the starter, just because there are less holes on the Eg33 that made up to the bell housing of the transmission, that there's just only one hole for the starter on that current setup. So we're just gonna thread the transmission and put a helicoil in there, so that way the starter has two bolts to hang on to, so that way it's not flopping around trying to fall out when we go to start the car. I mean, it's only momentarily going to be like turning over, but we still want it to be as secure as possible. So power steering pump has to come off. I'm gonna pull off these lower TGV portions with the fuel rails. Those will come out. We're gonna unbolt the transmission from the bell housing of the engine right there, undo the two engine mount nuts on the bottom of it, and we're just gonna pull it right out. I'm gonna pull this guy out just to give us more room. Over here, this is the clutch that I'm using, so huge shout out to ACT. Originally I was going to be using an X clutch, but this is rated for more power, and ACT sent this over to us to try. So this is their mod twin clutch for the WRX STi platform. So I mean, they give you a cool little breakdown right here. So we have two full face pucks, or not, it's not even a puck, we have two full face discs. We've got it's fully sprung. It should be good for a daily driver, so I'm like really excited for this one. Torque ratings on these are absolutely insane. This clutch is actually rated, if you look at their instructions right here, it's rated to 875 foot-pounds of torque, which should be plenty for us. You have torque on the left, newton meters on the right, so this will be perfect for what we're doing. I really don't think the car is going to make more than 800 foot-pounds. I mean, we'll find out, but I'm excited to get this on. So it comes with a brand new monolock collar, comes with a brand new throw-it bearing, the clutch alignment tool, all the good stuff on that one with your little shmoo, and then it gives you all the instructions of how to properly install this thing. I've never installed a twin disc before, so I'm looking forward to be able to like actually get this installed. So step one, let me start stripping this thing down. We'll get the battery out of there, all the other stuff off the engine, and then I'll start pulling this thing out. Once it's out, we're probably going to start with the easy stuff like the grommets on the valve covers, and then kind of go from there. Then we'll start like threading the transmission. So on today's episode of Smeedia, we get to play one of my favorite little side games of Where's That Part? Where I, Tanner, your host, misplace car parts and have no idea where I put them. So now I get to tear the garage apart to find my clutch fork, but we'll do that in a little bit. Motor came out pretty easy. Honestly, I just had to pull off the front corner timing cover, so you had to clear the front little whoop, those guys right there. So we're not gonna mess with this quite yet. I want to get this threaded up here. So we have one bolt that actually runs through here, which shares a spot with the starter, but that's pretty much it. We've got this hole here, that hole there, and then the two studs on the bottom that all mount the motor up to the engine. Now, because of that, we need a spot for the starter to bolt up to. So right here, I'm going to thread on a hole. I have an M10 by 1.5 helicoil set that I'm going to be helicoiling in there. Yes, I know time certs are better. I can't get time certs local, and I want to get this done today, so it'll be just fine with a helicoil and some red Loctite. So this hole is interesting. It's tapered, so it's bigger on this end than it is on the opposite end. So I'm gonna have to helicoil it from that side coming in straight. It's gonna be a little bit difficult. It won't be too bad. The hole is already the size I need it to be. So let's helicoil this thing and then test fit our starter in there to make sure it's all good. So we have our transmission modified here. So all I did was tap this, put a helicoil in it. If you can see in there, which I doubt that you can. We have very clean holes in there, so everything looks solid. I just test fit the starter on here also. I'm just using these bolts that I got from AutoZone. These are M10 by 1.5 with a lock washer on the backside. So the whole point of doing this was just to hold the starter in place. So after, I have some red Loctite in there that's curing the helicoil to the actual transmission. Aluminum is so easy to cut, I love it. So we'll let that cure. While that's curing, we're gonna come over here to our motor and swap to all of our new grommets, because as you guys remember, I decided, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna clean these old ones, throw them back in. It's a sealing surface, and we don't wanna leak oil and pee oil everywhere. So let's swap all of these new grommets on. It's just a 10mm, so we're gonna pull off the valve cover bolt, pull out the old grommet, put in the new one, go to the next one, go down the line. So let's get that knocked out. And then I need to find this clutch fork. So after tearing the garage apart for like 25 minutes, my clutch fork is it's gone. I have no idea where it is. I could have thrown it away when I did garage cleanup, and I was like, oh, I don't need this, bloop. So the local Subaru dealer has one over in Tacoma, so I'm about to go swing over to Tacoma Subaru, go pick up this clutch fork. Once I get back, we can get the clutch fork in the transmission, get the flywheel clutches on the engine, and actually get this thing permanently mounted up. By that point, I mean, the red Loctite should be fully cured too, so we can get the starter temporarily put on there. But let's go pick up this clutch fork, come back, and keep going on this. All right. Ooh, wow, focus on my face. There we go, thank you. All right, back from Subaru. I have the clutch fork. That was an expensive clutch fork at like $70 when you can buy them online for $30, but it is what it is. So we're still not ready to put this clutch on and flywheel and get it back in the car. So we're gonna go down to the fabricator. I'm gonna bring you guys with me, and my buddy Kyle is actually gonna modify our engine mounts, because if you remember, the engine mounts weren't sitting flush on the subframe. They just need to be re-angled just a little bit. So we're gonna pull the motor mounts off the engine, swing down to his shop, hang out. He's gonna do some like magic fabrication stuff, and we're gonna get these engine mounts fixed. So let's pull these things off, get down there. Subaru, I just want you to know, or Eg33, I just want you to know you're doing great today, my friend. Doing great. So this front driver. Now I need that other one. Dope, engine mounts are off. Let's get the engine back on the tires, swing over to Kyle's. Yeah, I know, you just want to go back in the car. We gotta get your engine mount sorted first though, my friend. We gotta get your engine mount situation taken care of. We're down at Fuse Fabrication. Excuse the blown out background. I forgot my ND filter at home, and there's like nowhere good to stand to like. We're down at Fuse Fabrication. It's my buddy Kyle's shop. He does incredible work. I'm probably not gonna film too much like talking in there, because he's like super busy knocking out these engine mounts for me, and he has like 1,000 other things to do. I don't know, we might. We'll get some creamy B-roll at least.
Looks like we've come to the end of the road. There's no point in running away now. I'd rather sleep until the storm is gone. She'd rather be shooting at me now. I know it will end up in anger. I don't think we grew up, we just became older. She's aiming her words, ready to fire. I don't think that bullets will bring back desire. I don't think that bullets will bring back desire.
So back from Kyle's, and we have our modified motor mounts back. So now I have a pretty good feeling the motor is going to sit in there exactly how we want it to. So I'm not going to put the clutch on the back side of the motor yet. First, I want to get the motor mounts back on there with our new motor mount hardware, because I did order that and I do want to put it on there. But I want to make sure that the motor mounts still sit perfectly. They should sit like right where they need to now that we adjusted the angle of them. So let's pull the engine back out from over there, get them on there. Well, first let me show you what he did with the motor mount. So these are just key-in engine swap mounts, but they're made for a GD chassis. So all he did was adjust the angle of where the mount actually sits by about 15 degrees, 15 degrees exactly. So he welded that plate on there, drilled a new through hole for us. Just had to run a little bit longer of a bolt through there, so we should be solid on that. So let's get these bolted back up onto the motor. Let's get the motor pulled out, get it put back in here, test fit it, and make sure the mounts sit flush down there now, because I have a feeling when the mounts sit flush down there, the pitch stop's going to line back up with the transmission. So let's do it. Let's just time lapse this. It's stuff you guys have already seen before. So I finally got the subframe to a point where I'm happy with it, where it will accept the studs. Now, yes, I did slot the subframe. Now, also, the fabricator is going to close up the areas that are no longer being used on the subframe from the stock engine mount. So, yes, it's a little goofy looking right now, but it will get better when it comes back from the fabricator, I promise. So now it's time to get this in the car. It's been a long day of like running errands and whatnot, so I'm pretty excited to get this thing in the car. I've never installed a twin disc before, so this is, like I said, this is the ACT mod twin. So I'm going to start by getting all of these bolts out, going around the pressure plate. I'm going to do them like star pattern coming off. They're all 10 millimeters, so let me pull all that off. Once that's off, we're going to get down to the flywheel, get the flywheel bolted up to the engine, and then we can start messing with this. There is like a very detailed instruction set from ACT, so I'm going to be following this as I'm going through it. You're encouraged to take the clutch apart to inspect it, become familiar with each component. Wash the flywheel. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much same as any other clutch install, but we got a couple discs here, so this will be fun. Let's get this thing disassembled. Let's throw some gloves on so we don't get our greasy little fingerprints all over the flywheel and the clutch discs. And let's get this thing on the car and get the engine permanently mounted up back in the car. So I was just gonna jump to getting this thing in the car, but since I've never disassembled one of these before, and I don't know if a lot of other people have, I thought this might be a little bit cool. So start by loosening all of these. So this assembly should just come right off now, which it does. So it says to flip that upside down. We're gonna flip all of these in the, oh wow, that is insane. We're gonna flip them all the exact same way that they're all in there. So this will sit like that. This thing is insane, dude. How do you go in? How do you go back in here? Oh boy, what have I done? Is that where you go? I have no idea if that's where you go. So I know, oh wow, okay. I see you. Wow, dude, this thing is gnarly. Oh, okay, that's normal. Let's get this on the car. I have brand new pressure plate or flywheel bolts. Let's take this over to the back side of the engine. We'll get it mated up to the crankshaft, get all this torque down, and then wipe off the surface, and I guess start figuring out how to get all this stuff on there, because this will be exciting. All right, I can do this. I can do this. With that there, slide our clutch alignment tool over that, and then onto that. Now with the bolts in reach, I'm just gonna get one like hand tightened. I'm just gonna get a couple of them hand tightened. Then we're gonna get some thread locker on here. It's gonna be we're gonna have a blast. All right, we're gonna have a party. It's gonna be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. Matt's looking forward to it. Wow, now that I have two of those on there, everything's gonna stay in place. So I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna get I'm gonna get all of them in there with some red Loctite, because the last thing that I want is for this guy to fall out. So we're gonna get them hand tight on there. Once it's hand tight, we'll make sure that this clutch alignment tool is straight with our friction discs. Once those are straight, wow, that's like super close on the flywheel. I guess that's the pressure plate. I guess it's supposed to be like that. That's just crazy. That's crazy to me for some reason. I don't know why. So yeah, let's get a couple of these threaded on there with the Loctite, and then we'll get it all torqued down. Now all I gotta do is get the throwout bearing on our new clutch fork, and then we can drop this thing in there. So you guys have seen me install a clutch before. This is no different than the way we do it. We're gonna put a little bit of moly grease on the splines of the transmission that are just gonna poke right through that hole right there, baby. Yeah, I mean, it should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward. The biggest thing whenever it comes to installing an engine with a clutch on it back in the car is getting the engine and the transmission at the same angle, so that way they just kind of like made up to each other. That's what you want. You just want it to slide right in, no friction, no force, just let her go right in. You guys, I've got to say, with my phone vibrated, with determination and persistence, you can do anything, I promise. The transmission and clutch did not want to become friends. That was probably one of the more difficult installs I've done of an engine with an actual clutch on it. I couldn't get the angles right. Finally I got the angles right, put in the top 2 bolts to start sucking the engine into the transmission, and it went right in like a newborn baby, just coming into the world. That was like a very bad analogy, but I'm gonna leave that in the video anyways. You guys, it is like the engine is permanently installed at this point. Like permanently installed. There's no need for it to come back out. Our flywheel and clutch assembly are installed. The pitch stop is actually bolted up now. I just had to drill it out a little bit farther. I need to get a clutch return spring right here for the clutch fork, but our new clutch fork is doing great. Our motor mounts line up perfect. Like, they are sitting stupid flush with the subframe at this point. So they were only about like 15 degrees off from keying, but keep in mind those engine mounts down there are not made for this car. They're made for a GD chassis. Our starter is bolted up also, so I'm going to replace that with a new starter at some point. That one's off of the 05 because I robbed the one from this car for the 05 when we were doing the 05, but for like temporary mock-up and wiring purposes, it's in. And our little transmission modification that we did down there worked absolutely perfect. Like, that starter is not going anywhere, and this motor, like, it's solid. It is not moving at all. This is like such an exciting moment for me, because it's just everything leading up to this point of getting this thing permanently in the car. It is now permanently in the car, and it sits absolutely perfect. It's perfect. Like, yes, it does. It sits very far forward. Not a problem. We're going to take care of that at the fabricators. It's just, whoo-hoo! You guys, it's like, it's in. The final installation of the Eg33 in the VA STi. It's right there. It's right there, and it doesn't have to come back out. So with the motor permanently installed in the car, we can start, and the like interior and all the wiring for there's spider webs on my mask. That's not okay. And with the wiring for the most part put back in the car, we can actually start wiring in the Haltech. We can actually start running fuel lines. We can actually start doing all of this stuff now. So I'm going to be ordering the turbo this week for the car. If you guys don't know, it is a Precision 6870 ball bearing T4 divided 3-inch inlet, 4-inch outlet, or it might be 4-inch inlet, 3-inch outlet. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a good size turbo. It's rated up to 1100 wheel horsepower, so we are going to be capping it at about that. So just keep that in mind, that at some point we are going to have to swap turbos and go with one that's a little bit bigger, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But you guys, I'm so hyped. We permanently have the Eg33 installed in the car, and it's a beautiful sight. But anyways, if you guys like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. Color of the day today is, I don't know, yellow. I don't know the last time the color of the day was yellow, but today it's yellow. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners. No idea which one I will put it in quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.